This is the Louie Tee Network.
Louie Tee, welcome to the 2017 NFL Draft Prospects 101 series, your guide to some of the biggest and hottest names of the 2017 NFL Draft. I am your man, Louie Tee, on this beautiful journey that we're going to take over the next 2.5 months. I will be your set man as we try to comb through as many of the top prospects of the 2017 NFL Draft as we can possibly get through. This is one of the most talented and deep draft classes we've seen in recent memory, and so we're going to get through as many of the top prospects, guys that we see as first round picks, possible second round picks, those fringe guys. We're going to get through as many of them as we possibly can in this series. And you know how I like to do it. Even though the quarterback position isn't the most talented in this draft class, it's still the most important. You know how it goes. You know what I always say. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance in the National Football League. That hasn't changed, nor will it ever. And so, even though I don't think any of these quarterbacks are ready to start day one, there are no Jameis Winstances in this draft. There are no Marcus Mariotas, no Carson Wentz's, no Andrew Lucks. However, there are quarterbacks with talent that if given time and drafted by the right team and put in the right situations, they can succeed in this league. And there are some guys with some talent. And I'm going to talk about one in particular today that I didn't know much about going into the process. I wasn't very familiar with his game. It seemed like he came out of nowhere. I hadn't heard his name leading up to the season. Didn't think that I was going to hear much about this guy moving forward. But he came off the pace. I turned on the tape, and what I saw was a guy that has immense potential at the next level if put in the right situation. I'm talking about North Carolina's quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky. His mama named him Mitchell. I'ma call him Mitchell. Let's take a look at Mitchell Trubisky. So, you look at Mitchell Trubisky and all of the things that he brings to the table. We're going to start with his pros. So let's jump into those right now. First thing I look at with Mitchell Trubisky is his size at 6'3", 220 pounds. I think that is a great size for an NFL quarterback, right around what you're looking for. At 220 pounds, you're big enough, you have enough girth to be able to stand in the pocket and withstand the punishment that's going to come. It's part of the territory. Gonna have to be able to take some shots and get up and keep on ticking. And I think at 220 pounds, at 6'3", tall enough to see over the line of scrimmage, make all of the different reads that you need to make and get the football out, and gives you the best opportunity to not have footballs deflected. So I think that's a really solid size at 6'3", 220 pounds for Mitchell Trubisky. You look at his arm, I think he's got a very adequate NFL arm, can make every throw that you want him to make. I think he's got a 3-level throw arm. Can hit it deep, can go intermediate, can hit you in the short passing game as well. So I think his arm is solid and more than adequate enough to get it done at the next level. I think he's got very good pocket presence and escapability. And so let's talk about that, because I think he's not one of these guys that's really antsy and he's not comfortable in the pocket. He'll stand in there like a big boy, look around, survey the field, first read not there, second read not there, and make the throw to his third read. Could be the tight end up the sideline, could be the running back out in the flats. Whatever he needs to do, he's not afraid to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. But there's also a level of escapability that comes with Mitchell Trubisky that I find very fascinating, because this is a guy that you look at him at first glance, first blush, you don't think he's that good of an athlete, but I think at the combine, I think he dispelled any notion that he doesn't have the athleticism necessary to be a guy that can hurt you with his legs at the next level. And on tape, you can see that this is a guy that can run. They ran plenty of read option where he kept the football, planned runs. He's a threat in the red zone to take it into the end zone. So this is a guy that can escape outside the pocket and get rid of the football outside of the pocket. He can make guys miss. A free runner, free blitzer. He sees them in time. He can avoid contact, get outside the pocket, and make things happen. So he's got good pocket presence, but when he needs to, he can escape the pocket and still deliver the football. Accuracy is another calling card of Mitchell Trubisky. This is a guy, 68% completion percentage. And we're not talking about one of these guys that only threw it 350 times. We're not talking about a guy that threw it 300 times. We're talking about a guy who threw it 447 times at North Carolina last year. And yes, there were some dink and dunkers in there. There were some drive starters where he's throwing a hitch or he's throwing a bubble screen. But make no mistake about it, he did push the football down the field as well. And he was very accurate in the short to intermediate game. I think he could be a little bit more accurate down the field, but I tell you what, short to intermediate, you won't find a quarterback in this draft that is as accurate with the football and takes care of the football, which is another pro for Mitchell Trubisky. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Only 6 interceptions last year, over 30 touchdowns. So this is a guy that takes care of the football, does a really good job of hitting receivers when they're open and giving them a chance to run with the football after the catch. Very, very accurate thrower of the football. Mobility, in and outside of the pocket. I think his mobility, and sometimes we talk so much about these quarterbacks that have athleticism and we kind of dismiss the ones that don't, but it's not always about how fast you run. Sometimes mobility in the pocket is just as important, if not more important, than your mobility outside of the pocket. That's why Drew Brees, that's why Tom Brady are one of the best each and every single year, because inside the pocket, they are dangerous because of their mobility and what they do in the pocket. Calling that phone booth mobility, that secret weapon for a lot of these quarterbacks. And I think Mitchell Trubisky has a little bit of that, not afraid to step up, shuffle left, shuffle right, if need be in the pocket, to buy himself that extra second that's necessary to get the football down the field or maybe get to another read in his progression. Does a really good job in the pocket of showcasing that mobility to create extra time to get rid of the football. But then also in that same breath, he can get outside of the pocket. And I talked about that mobility earlier and that escapability. Well, he's got mobility that when things break down and he has to get out of dodge, he can with his legs. He becomes an extra threat that the defense does have to worry about. If you're in man-to-man coverage and you turn your back to Mitchell Trubisky on 3rd and 7, he can get you 11 and move the sticks. He's very athletic. And like I said, just to give you a little bit of framework and reference, we talk about Deshaun Watson as a very athletic, dual-threat quarterback coming into this NFL, into this draft. But he ran a 4.67 at the combine, or a 4.66. Mitchell Trubisky ran a 4.67. So if you think Deshaun Watson is athletic and can run, Mitchell Trubisky not that far behind, just as athletic as Deshaun Watson. So this is a guy that can run, does have a bit of mobility. If you sleep, he will hurt you in the run game with his legs, as he did run a ton of read option at North Carolina. Toughness is another trait that I love with Mitchell Trubisky. Here's a guy that is not afraid to stand in the pocket, stare down the gun barrel, take shots. Sometimes as a quarterback, you know you're going to have to put your body on the line. In order to take that shot, you're going to need an extra second. You're going to have to hang in there. You see that linebacker screaming down, coming at you, staring down the gun barrel. You have to focus at the task at hand and take care of business and deliver the football, take the shot, knowing that if you hang in there, that there could be a big benefit that you reap down the road. And so as a quarterback, you can't be afraid to put your body on the line on 3rd and 3. If you're going to run for the first down, then I need you to dive and get 4. On 3rd and 8, and you see your tight end running a seam route, and you're gonna have to take a shot to deliver the football. Free runner coming, you gotta take that shot, deliver that seam ball to the tight end where he can catch it and protect himself and pick up the first down. Mitchell Trubisky can do that with the best of them in this draft. Has that toughness that you're looking for out of an NFL starting quarterback. And finally, he's got it. What is it? It is, I don't know. Stop asking, okay? No, seriously, it is at the end of a ball game. Does he have ice water in his veins? Can he take his team down the field and get whatever it is they need? Need a field goal like they did against Florida State? That was a seesaw affair, back and forth. It looked like North Carolina was going to win that game. Then Florida State goes down the field, and takes the lead with about 35 seconds left. And Mitchell Trubisky takes his Tar Heels back down the field, gets them in the field goal range for a walk-off game-winning field goal in Tallahassee on the road against a tough ACC opponent. That's big boy football. You look at the game against Pitt, a high-scoring affair, down to the wire, and they had a couple of fourth down situations on the last drive that if they don't convert, the game is over. Pitt wins this game, turnover on downs, and Trubisky stepped up on 4th and 6, delivered a dagger. 4th and 8, delivered a dagger, took him down the field, and finally finished off the drive with a beautiful fade route to Bug Howard in the end zone for a touchdown as they come from behind and beat Pitt in an epic thriller. That's what he brings to the table. Hell, even in the bowl game, they don't get it done. Fall to Stanford by 2, 24-22 in that ball game. But down 8 late in the game, he took his team down the field. Another couple of big fourth down conversions. He made a crucial mistake in the third quarter, throwing a pick 6 that cost them in this game. But he battled back, rallies his team, brings them all the way down the field, gets into the end zone, gives them a chance to tie the game up. They weren't able to convert the 2-point conversion, lose the game by 2 points, but Trubisky gives his team a chance late in ball games. I love that about him. That's one of the huge barometers for me in terms of a quarterback, and whether you have it or not at this level, is being able to bring your team back from behind late in ball games, and Mitchell Trubisky has it. So we go from his pros to some things that I think he needs to work on. I'm talking about his cons. Let's take a look at some of those. So for all of the good things I've talked about with Mitchell Trubisky thus far, there are some things that worry you about his game, or even just some things that you just kind of take a look at and you wonder about, makes you kind of pause for a second. And to me, with him, there's none bigger than the lack of experience. If you're looking for a guy that's played 3 years of collegiate football, or at least 2 years as a starter, you're not getting it here with Mitchell Trubisky. As a matter of fact, 1 year of starting at North Carolina. A lot of people thought he would go back and get another year, instead elected to come out. And maybe it was for the best, because in a weak quarterback class, he gives himself a chance to be one of the top prospects in this year's draft. So maybe he knew exactly what he was doing when he came out, but the lack of experience is alarming. Only 13 career starts. Coming into the season, this was a man that had only thrown 125 passes in his collegiate career, and so he tripled that in his final season at North Carolina, going 304 for 447, 3,748 yards, really good season, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but again, only 13 career starts. And so there's a number of things that you ask yourself, has he been in these situations enough for me to trust that he can get it done at the next level? That's for GM, scouts, and evaluators to determine. But I think this is a guy that has a bunch of potential and talent. But again, not a lot of tape. So you have really just one season of him starting at North Carolina to go off of. That makes a lot of people uncomfortable with Mitchell Trubisky. Of course, another elephant in the room, he's a primary read option spread quarterback. stays in the pistol. I watched at least 5, possibly upwards of 7 games of Mitchell Trubisky last year, and I don't recall him being under center very often. As a matter of fact, I can't recall him ever being under center. So I think that's something that, again, this is part of the reason why a lot of these guys aren't ready to come in and start day one. And you could say, well, Marcus Mariota started day one, and he was a primary spread read option quarterback, but it's a little different with him because the body of work was there, okay? So you knew, look, this guy started for the last 2 or 3 years. With Trubisky, not so much. There's going to be a sharp learning curve for him, especially for a guy that hasn't taken a 5-step drop with a hitch, a guy that's taken a 7-step drop, a guy that's had to call out plays. I think he actually had to call out plays in North Carolina, but there was a lot of looking over at the sidelines as well. So I think terminology may be something that he's going to have to adjust to as well. Decision making. This is something that really bothers me with him, though. Despite only having 6 interceptions, you could make a case that he probably could have thrown about 10 or 12 just if guys could catch. And really just being lucky sometimes that where he threw the football up for grabs, it wasn't picked off. Because there are some decision-making issues with him, if you ask me. There are a couple of times where he panics, and I'll give you a couple of instances. Against Georgia, first game of the season, he takes a safety, ill-advised, in the end zone. You can't do that. You have to get rid of the football. You cannot take a safety. He had ample opportunities to get rid of the football. You do not, under any circumstance, take a safety and give up points unless that is what you were directed to do. And in this case, obviously, he was not directed to take a safety. He just was negligent and did not get rid of the football in time. Then you go to the Virginia Tech game, which, if you ask me, was his worst performance by far. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as to why, but he's in the end zone, running around, almost takes another safety against Virginia Tech, similar to the one against Georgia. Just inexplicable. You can't do these types of things. Gotta think. You're outside of the pocket. You're in the end zone. Get rid of the football. Live to fight another day. Then there's situations where I feel like when he's under duress, he will force the football and throw it up for grabs, okay? He's a guy that doesn't like to take a lot of sacks. If he can avoid a sack, he will, but sometimes the best play, the only play, and a wise man once told me this, is to eat it and take a sack. And I don't think Mitchell Trubisky understands fully that concept just yet, and I think that's something that coaches are going to have to make sure they drill into his mind, is that, look, we much rather punt on 4th down than you commit a mistake and turn it over on 2nd down or 3rd down. So that's something that I think he's got to start to kind of internalize. If it's not there, get rid of it, throw it away, or just take the sack, but don't put your team in harm's way by throwing it up for grabs and potentially turning the football over. He throws a bad interception versus Duke, where you just say, what are you doing? It's a bad throw. It's a bad decision. It's forced. He's under duress, and he throws it up, and it's picked off. And then the game against Stanford, the bowl game, just a horrible read. Just, again, decision-making. What are you thinking here? Running back, running up the sidelines. He doesn't see the safety out in space right there, really in his line of sight. Again, I don't know how he doesn't see him. He throws an easy pick six, changes that ball game, changes the whole complexion of that ball game. They end up losing that game. So, again, decision making for Mitchell Trubisky, not something that I think is one of his strong suits at this current moment, but he can, and I think he will improve in that department. His deep ball accuracy, I'm nitpicking here, but I think it could be a lot better. There are too many instances where I see guys wide open that he misses them, and even situations where guys are streaking down the field, and they've got to wait on the football because he didn't put enough on it, and he has the arm strength to do so. So I'd like to see him be a little bit more proficient throwing the football 30-plus yards down the field. And then my final con, again, I think it's probably something that's not that big of a deal. Could be nitpicking here, but his worst game of his career was against Virginia Tech. And it was last year where they just got steamrolled. It was wet, it was nasty. Virginia Tech plays a big-time brand of defensive football, and he just didn't have a good game. Turned it over a ton, was inaccurate. Again, it was wet, it was a nasty day in Carolina, in Chapel Hill, and he just didn't play well. And I don't know if that has anything to do with hand size or if it was just a bad day. But again, he did not play well in the rain with a slick football against Virginia Tech. He did not give his team a chance on that day. His teammates didn't help him out by catching the ball either, but I just thought it was a bad day all around for Mitchell Trubisky and the North Carolina Tar Heels. So that's Mitchell Trubisky in a nutshell. I look at this guy as a big-time prospect at the quarterback position in this draft. I think he's one of the top quarterbacks. If you ask me, in the pantheon of these quarterbacks, I think he's probably second or third, depending on how you feel about Kaiser and Watson. Some people even like Mahomes. I like Trubisky. He has it. I just look at him and I say, this guy looks the part. And if you ask me, without his helmet on, he looks like Tony Romo and kind of plays like him as well. And I think he can develop into that type of quarterback, given some time, put into a position where he's not rushed, where he's able to kind of come along at his own leisurely pace in the right system. I think Mitchell Trubisky could be a quarterback in this league that can start and win these football games down the line. So that's going to do it for Mitchell Trubisky and his 2017 NFL Draft Prospects 101 breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Louie Tee Network or in the lab room. Come back and join your man Louie Tee, as I got plenty more of these coming your way. Free agency also coming, so stay tuned for that as well. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Whether you're looking for more great content or more of me, your man, Louie Tee, follow, like, and subscribe to the following social media platforms of mine: